You're a man. It's a profession. And I wish more of us looked at it this way. It's the profession of being a man. And if it's our profession, then we should be thinking about ways we can constantly improve. Make yourself capable in all ways, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Go work out, go train, eat correctly, fuel your body right, learn the marketable skills, get promotions, start businesses, learn how to network, learn how to train. This is our job. Men, challenge is inevitable in your life. Your ability to overcome the obstacles, the trials, the hurdles, the challenges that you face and that your family and your people face is what differentiates you from other individuals, males who are not men. I firmly believe that it's those males who step up, who lead effectively, who problem solve, who overcome challenges are the ones who rightfully are able to use the title of man. And if you're not stepping up to challenges and you're not overcoming those hardships, then you are not doing what you're meant to be doing. Our mission here and our motto is to protect, provide, and preside. It's to take care of yourself. It's to be capable of providing for yourself and loved ones. It's to be able to care for those who need you, who cannot potentially care for themselves. And it's your ability to lead as a man in righteousness that really spells the difference between you being a man and you being a child, simply a male. And we've all heard the term that being a male is a matter of birthright, but being a man is so much more. So today I'm going to talk with you about what you can do to overcome challenges and hurdles and struggles in your life, because that's what's going to make you who you want to be, who your people need you to be, and the kind of man that you have the ability to become. So number one, we have to get our mind right. If you can't get your mind wrapped around the idea that your job is to solve problems, that your job is to look for things that could potentially go wrong, that your job is to step up when everybody else around you is falling apart mentally, physically, emotionally, they're having emotional breakdowns, they're having mental baggage and blockage, and they're physically incapable of dealing with whatever the situation demands. It's your job to make sure that you handle that. Because when everything goes down, when it hits the fan, people look to you, or they don't, based on their belief in your ability to get them through that circumstance. So if it's your family who might be struggling financially, they're going to look to you. If it's your children who are having a hard time at school, maybe they're getting bullied, maybe they're having a difficult time with a new concept they're learning at school, they're going to look to you. If an intruder breaks into your home, your wife's not going to get out of bed and handle it. It's going to be you. Every situation that you're going to encounter, people are going to look to you. And I shared this concept with somebody else, is that we believe that leadership just means that everything goes well when things are going well. I don't consider that leadership. Now, it's nice when things are going well, but leadership really reveals itself when things are going poorly. And your job is to solve the problems that come up. Please don't put that on your wife. Don't put that on your children. Don't put that on your colleagues and your coworkers. And your clients and your employees, and don't even put it on your employers. You hear guys who will say, that's above my pay grade. They don't pay me enough to handle that problem. And you know what those guys always are? Broke, miserable, unfulfilled, dissatisfied, passed over for promotions because they think that it's somebody else's job to do the thing. It's not. It's your job to do the thing. And the more that you can wrap your head around that and have that ingrained and etched into your DNA as a man, the better off you're going to be, and the better off that the people around you are going to be. So that's number one. Your job is to solve problems. Your job is to protect, provide, and preside. And if you're doing anything to the contrary, you're not being the man that you could be. Now, this is about the time that people come back to me and say, well, Ryan, what about this thing that you did? And what about this way that you messed up? And what about your past divorce? And what about your failures in your finances? And what about when you were overweight and out of shape? And what about your addiction? And by the way, they're not wrong. They're exactly right. But that's what I'm telling you. See, I'm not telling you that you can be those things in spite of your deficiencies and your inadequacies. I'm telling you that it's your job to overcome them. And so if you're falling short, you're not being the kind of man that you could be. Same as me. Same as everybody else listening to this podcast. And I'll be the first to admit that when I fall short in my life, it's because I'm not doing what I ought to be doing. It's not because I don't believe that we should be doing better. It's because I'm not doing what I know we ought to be doing. You do it too. We all do it. We all fall short of our ideals. Our job is to live up to our ideals. Let's get to point number 2. Point number 2 is anticipation. Guys, you need to scan your surroundings physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You need to know what the enemy is. If you're going into a crowded environment and you're taking your wife out to dinner or to a concert, it's your job to keep her protected. Yeah, sure. Enjoy the music, enjoy the performance, enjoy the show, enjoy the movie, enjoy the dinner, enjoy whatever it is you're doing. But ultimately, the buck stops with you. It's her job to show up and be lovely and support and enhance your life. It's your job to make sure she has the environment, the container where that can happen. So you, when you go into a restaurant, need to put your back against the wall. You're the one that needs to be scanning the area. You're the one who needs to be looking for threats. You're the one who needs to be looking for things outside of the ordinary so you can be prepared for things that might inevitably come up. Now, I'm not telling you that you should be paranoid about these things because that hinders your ability to perform, but you ought to be prepared for it, which means situational awareness. Unbury your nose out from the phone. Look around, scan your surroundings, be capable. Try to be intimidating. Try to take up space. That's what men ought to do. When it comes to work, look at what your competitors are doing. Look at what the markets are doing. Look at what technology is coming down the line that you need to be aware of. When it comes to your children, look for cues. What are they dealing with? Where has their behavior changed? Where are they struggling? What are they dealing with? You have to anticipate that things are going to go wrong. Guys, when in the history of humankind has everything always been perfect? When in your own life have you ever done anything that went according to plan? If you're getting blindsided constantly by a job layoff or a medical diagnosis, or one of your people getting hurt or getting injured, or the transmission on the vehicle going out, or the economic dynamic changing, or changing of the political waves in society, and you're blindsided all the time, why are you being so ignorant to it? Why are you being oblivious? Why are you being unaware? That's not your role. Your role is to be keenly aware of everything that could be going on around you and everything that poses a risk to you and yours. And if you're not constantly thinking about what those threats are, not again being paranoid, but being prepared, then you're leaving room on the table and people will not look to you because they can't trust you. And I promise at the end of the day, more so than that, you're not going to feel good about yourself. I've had situations in my life where I have been underqualified, underprepared. And then when I get caught with my proverbial pants down, it's like I act as if I'm a victim. I act as if I'm blindsided by what's going on. And the reality is I should not have been. I should have been totally prepared for those things. What are you doing to make sure you're prepared? Financial provisions, provisions around the house, making sure that your family is safe, making sure that you have a plan at work for natural disasters and at home for the house catching on fire or an intruder breaking in, or if there's financial catastrophe, or if there's civil unrest, or if there's an active shooter situation. These things all happen every day. We listen to, we read, we get the news about these things happening. Don't be unprepared. Number 3, and this moves into the next thing from mindset to being aware of the threats, is to be capable. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, can you honestly look another person in the eye and saying you're doing everything that you can be doing as a man to protect, provide, and preside for you and yours? Of course you're not. Get a budget. Budget every week. Live below your means. Be disciplined with your spending. Learn how to invest. Learn where to put your money. Learn how to pay off debt. Don't get into debt in the first place. And once you pay it off, don't put yourself back into debt by buying the next new dumb thing that you were tempted to buy. Be smart, be intelligent, have a nest egg, learn how to invest, develop a skill that will help you make money, not just now, but into the future. If you're at work and you're saying, I'm not going to do that because they don't pay me enough, and so you just sit on your haunches and you believe that you can just ride the coattails of what somebody else is doing, you're not being a man. You're being a child at best. And I'm not saying you have to work for free or you have to do something above and beyond what you've been contracted to do. You can make that decision, but it's those people who go above and beyond. They invest in themselves. They get new credentialing or new licensing or new degrees. They go to courses. They go to conferences. They develop new skill sets, and then their employers over time. And I know it happens in isolated moments where your efforts go unnoticed, but you can't honestly believe that if you do all of the right things when it comes to adding value and being a valuable player on your team, if it's in employment in this case, that it's going to be overlooked forever. You might have an isolated moment because you were in a bad situation, but if you do that long enough, I promise you, you will win. I guarantee you will win. So let's not play the scarcity of, they don't pay me enough or that's above my pay grade. Yeah, maybe it is, but don't you want to get to that point? And if that's the case, then you need to make yourself capable in all ways. If you're listening to this and you're in a public space right now, if somebody came in an active shooter situation and started shooting up you and the people you love and random strangers, do you have the skill set to deal with it? Do you have your firearm on you? Are you trained with it? Can you make an accurate shot? Can you get people to safety? Can you get them out of that environment? Do you know first aid? Do you know medical life-saving skills? If not, what are you doing? You're a man. It's a profession. And I wish more of us looked at it this way. It's the profession of being a man. And if it's our profession, then we should be thinking about ways we can constantly improve. Make yourself capable in all ways, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Go work out, go train, eat correctly, fuel your body right, learn the marketable skills, get promotions, start businesses, learn how to network, learn how to train martial arts, learn how to use your firearm, learn situational awareness, learn medical life-saving skills. This is our job. Quite literally, our job as men. The next, guys, is you have to keep yourself emotionally regulated. Your job is to create safety for the individuals around you. This is one that I personally struggle with, and it's one that I'm constantly working on. When my sons or daughters say something that fires me up or triggers me or pushes me in a certain way or triggers me in just the right way where they know how to trigger, it's my job to keep myself emotionally regulated. Now, I'm not great at this. I'm not saying that I'm great at this. I'm saying I'm aware of this as something that I personally need to work on. But if you find yourself getting fired up because your boss says something or a client says something or your wife says something in a particular way or your son or your daughter says something that pisses you off and makes you feel disrespected, at some point along the line, you ought to recognize that there is something that's triggering you that you're probably not even aware of, and you need to figure out why that is. You can do a lot of work with Carl Jung's shadow work. You can do some journaling. You can reflect every single day. In my case, sometimes when I get heated and fired up, I just disengage from the situation temporarily. Maybe I'll go for a walk, or I'll get a breath of fresh air, or I'll turn off the electronics and focus on my kids or my girlfriend, or maybe in some points I will focus on my business and do something productive and constructive. But my job is to regulate my emotions. They're not wrong. You can be angry. You can be afraid. You can have guilt and sorrow and remorse about your life. And you can be joyful. You can be happy and you can be playful and you can have fun. You can do all of these things. But if you just notice yourself as a roller coaster of emotional highs and lows, nobody's going to feel like they can rely on you. I know people like this, and when they're high, and when they're low, they're low. And I'm telling you right now that those are not people that you can trust. And they're not people that others are going to look to in times of turmoil and strife. And you're not even going to feel confident in what you can do yourself. As Rudyard Kipling says in his poem, If, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it memorized, but he says that your goal is to keep yourself regulated, that you can face defeat in the exact same way that you may face victory. And if you can do that, you'll be a man, my son, as Rudyard Kipling says. Next is your job is to help people find solutions to their own problems. I have seen so many men get wrapped up in making other people's problems their priority. And we should prioritize that to a degree based on who it is. If it's your wife or your children or employees or clients, then some of their problems are going to be your priority. But if it comes at the expense of your own well-being or your ability to do other things that you have responsibilities for, that's a problem. And by the way, every time you rush in like Captain America to save people from their problems, barring immediate physical danger, you're actually hurting them because you're not giving them the benefit of the consequences of poor decision making. If one of my children, I have 4 children, I have 3 sons and a daughter. If one of my children makes a mistake at school today, and I go in and I rush in and I start chastising the teacher or the principal or the other kid or blame it on any of that and not actually put any responsibility on my own child, even though they may have been the ones who created the problem, then I'm robbing them of the consequence of their poor decision-making process. They have to feel the sting. And my job is not to create solutions. My job is to navigate and coach and to guide and to lead through good questions and making sure that my children have the skill set they need to thrive, and my clients have the skill set, and my employees have the skill set. I don't want to do all things at all times. I don't want to be everything to everybody. I want my people to thrive, and that means that I need to give them the tools they need. My resources are their resources. I'm not going to give them the answers, but I'm going to give them the resources. And then to empower them, to let them go, to give them a little bit of a leash. Not enough to hurt themselves or hang themselves with, but just enough to maybe feel that choke around their neck a little bit and say, that hurts, I shouldn't do that anymore. Right. But again, as I said earlier, your job is to create a safe environment so they can experiment and they can try things and they can test and they can see what works and see what doesn't without the risk of imminent danger, not keeping them from the consequences of poor decisions, but out of danger. That's going to empower them to believe in them, to support them, to edify them, to encourage them, to uplift them, and to help them come up with the problems to their own solutions. Guys, there's a way to handle challenge, and it's not the modern version of man, where he whines and he whimpers and he complains and he plays the victim and he hopes that the government and Big Daddy government or whoever else he's looking to will come in and swoop down from above and rescue him from his problems. The problem with that is that if we're so reliant on other people and other institutions, then we inevitably subject and enslave ourselves to other institutions and people who would love nothing more than to have power over us. In order to face challenges like a man, you need to make yourself sovereign. Physically, meaning you're strong, you're bold, you're capable, you're healthy, you're eating right, you're fueling your body correctly, and you're doing the right things. Mentally, meaning that you're pushing yourself, you're learning new skills, you're learning new mindsets, you're developing your mind and your brain, and you're critically thinking and you're problem solving. Emotionally, regulating your emotions. Not that you can't be angry or sad or glad or mad or happy or in love or hate, but that you regulate the emotion to produce effective outcomes, whether it's a so-called negative emotion or a positive one. And of course, making sure that you're connected spiritually, that you believe in something bigger than yourself. For me, it's God. That I believe that he has his hand in all of my dealings, that he is conspiring for me, not against me, that I am put on this planet to do something bigger and greater and grander than myself, that I'm here to serve, that I'm here to take my God-given gifts and talents and abilities and deploy them in a way that effectively serves other people. That's our job. And it's a rewarding one. It's a fulfilling one. It's a righteous one. I would assume, because you're listening to this podcast, that as a man, you want to be the one that other people look to when it is going wrong. When you're in hostile territory. When you're in dangerous situations and circumstances. When everywhere else they're looking seems dire and dangerous. I imagine, because you're listening to this podcast, you want those people to look to you. And if you want those people to look to you, you better be capable of being looked to. You better be the kind of man who knows it's his job to solve problems. You better be the kind of man who's able to anticipate the threats, acknowledge them early, and do something about it. You better be the kind of man who is constantly working to make himself more capable. You better be the kind of man who doesn't freak out or flip out or lose his cool, but who's emotionally regulated, who can act the same whether he's heartbroken or he's on the top of his game and he's achieved some great thing that nobody else would know the difference because he's so regulated emotionally. And you better find a way to help people solve their own problems, empower, edify, train, uplift other people, because that's your job. If you want to get more specific in this, let me know. If you want to work with other men who are like this so that some of that can rub off on you and you can learn a little bit more about what me and other men are doing in order to ensure that we as men can face the challenges that we deal with head on, then you need to join us inside of our brotherhood. Now, look, I'm not telling you to do life alone. I don't think that's helpful either. I think it's actually a hindrance to your ability to protect, provide, and preside. I think you need to band with other men. You can't put it all on your wife. You can't put it all on your kids. You can't put it all on anybody else, but having good men in your corner who you can actually talk with, not to whine and bitch and moan and complain, but to actually have real conversations with the anticipation that you're going to find answers and insight and ideas, then join us in the Iron Council. That's our private brotherhood. We work together every single day. In fact, I had 3 or 4, maybe even 4 conversations today with Iron Council members, and we're talking about various things, from one of them going through a divorce, one of them dealing with financial hardship, one of them starting a business. In fact, I'm working with a close personal friend of mine right now. He and his son are starting a brand new podcast called Manhood Understood. I'm working with them. This is the kind of resource that you're going to get inside of our private brotherhood and community, the Iron Council. We're open right now. And I would love for you to band with us and be part of the brotherhood to protect, provide, preside, and to restore and reclaim what it means to be a man. Check it out, orderaman.com/Iron Council. But at the end of the day, if you join us or not, your job is to face challenge like a man. Hopefully these points helped you. And if I missed anything or you have additional insight, hit me up on Instagram, is where I'm typically most active, at Ryan Mickler. And let's keep the conversation rolling. Guys, we got a great conversation coming out next week with the New York Times bestselling author, Jack Carr. I did a podcast with him this morning, and I think you're going to love that conversation. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the Order Man podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you're doing your thing. And one last ask outside of the Iron Council, make sure, if you would, just take a screenshot real quick. This is a grassroots movement. I put very little dollars into ad spends on Facebook and Instagram and social media. Not that I don't think they can work, but I think it's better if we grow this as a grassroots movement. And that means that I need you to take a screenshot, tag me, send it to a friend, send it to your brother or family member, tell them, hey, this is a good podcast. You ought to listen to it, and invite them into the fold to reclaim and restore masculinity. That's my ask of you. And if you've ever received any value from what we're doing here, that would mean a lot to me. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with Jack. Until then, have a great weekend. Go out there, take action, face challenges like a man, and become the man you are meant to be.